You might be wondering, how much money can you actually make from self-publishing books? Well, in this video, I'm going to take you through my income report for September. So to start off, let's take a little look back at the last couple of years on Amzon KDP. So back in 2023, I achieved $745 in sales and received approximately $118 in profit. So if you're a little bit closer to the start of your journey, this is a good guide to show you, the levels that you'd want to get to then kick on a little bit further. Because a year later, in 2024, I received $2,674 in royalties, which netted me around $1,900 in profit. So that's the growth from 2023 to 2024. But I'm throwing a spoiler out there, that growth has not continued to 2025. And we're going to go into why that is now. So if you're a regular to these income report videos, you know I set myself monthly goals to try and keep myself accountable for my progress. And so for September, I wanted to publish 3 books, try and hit 1,400 book orders, which would have got me around $2,400 in monthly profit. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to do any of these 3 things. But what I did publish is I published 2 quite high quality colouring books over on Amazon. So I was focusing a little bit more on this YouTube channel this month, maybe not putting as much as I should have done into my Amzon KDP journey. So next month I need to make sure I sort that out. But what I've done this month is one of these 2 colouring books we're going to use as a case study. So that means I'm going to share with you the title, the cover, the colouring pages, and we're going to take you through everything including ad spend and results. So if there's anything you want to know about this colouring book, drop a comment down below and I'll do my very best to answer those questions in the case study video coming next month. But back on to how many books I sold in September. I sold 1,137 copies. So that's from 162 titles over on Amzon KDP. So that's all of my titles, which includes e-back versions, paperback versions, hardback versions, etc. So that might be maybe around 130 books in total. And then because I've been growing over the past few years over on Amazon, from those 130 books, I'd say maybe only around 50 of them are high enough quality that sell. Maybe a few more, but that kind of shows you that it's not necessarily about quantity over on Amazon KDP, but more important to focus on quality. In terms of where I sell my books, you can see that the USA and the UK are my 2 main marketplaces. And what's interesting to see is that last year USA was well ahead, whereas this year the UK is kind of catching up a little bit. I'm also getting some sales over in Canada, and I'm increasing my sales over in Germany now that I've got 4 German translated books over there. What I think I should probably focus on is translating those books into French, Italian, Spanish, etc. to see if I can boost some sales in additional countries as well. But why are orders down compared to last year and the last few months? Number 1, I've noticed less sales in the US marketplace. Now, I don't know if that's just me, but if you're an Amazon KDP publisher as well, drop a comment down below with how your US sales are getting on year. I've seen a slight downward trend in the USA. I don't know if that's because less people in the US are using Amazon, or maybe there's just more competition out there. And speaking about competition, some of my older books that were just selling organically quite well, I have noticed there's more competition, and some books have tried to outcompete with what my book was originally doing. So for example, let's say my best-selling book had 50 colouring pages. I've noticed ones popping up with 60, 70 colouring pages in a very similar style. So that's seen some of my better performing books drop off a little bit. And then in terms of colouring books where I was getting a few sales organically, I've noticed that the bold and easy Coco YO style has completely flooded the marketplace. There's hundreds of thousands of these books, both hand illustrated and made with AI, just flooding Amazon. And in terms of what customers tend to be looking for on Amazon, it's these bold and easy style books. They're really hot at the moment. They're quite hard to break through due to, the mass amount of books out there. But they are taking sales away, I think, from some of my other colouring books that aren't in that bold and easy style. And also I think the higher prices are affecting sales a little bit. Due to the royalty rate, you really need to be pricing your books at $9.99 or higher in the US and $7.99 or higher in the UK. And then the annoying thing about the UK is that there's a VAT added onto that $7.99. So let's say I'm selling a colouring book for $7.99, which doesn't seem too bad. They'll then add 20% on that, so it's actually listed at $8.79. And my royalty remains the same, but that higher price point, it is proving a little bit difficult, especially for things like colouring books, which is why I've started to pivot mostly towards activity and puzzle books. But I also think I should be leaning into some high content areas as well. So here's an example screenshot of one of my top selling books, and this is the bestseller rank. So basically with these bestseller ranks, the closer it gets to the top, the better it's selling. That number one spot is the number one best-selling book on Amazon, whereas if it's at the bottom, it's not selling much at all. So this is a book I published almost a year and a half ago, and you can see there it was getting consistent sales. So every time there's a spike upwards, that generally means one or multiple sales, and it was getting consistent sales over the past 12 to 14 months. But then recently it's dropped off a little bit due to increased competition. And that's what I've noticed on a few of my books. It's an example of why some of my orders maybe are dropping down just a little bit. But back on to September and how much I earn on Amazon KDP. My royalties for the month were $3,095. For my Brits, that's around £2,308. So as you can see from the graph, it was pretty consistent throughout the month. There were no real massive dips or peaks. It was pretty steady. And the hope is that as we approach Q4 now and people starting to buy Christmas presents, that this is going to increase quite dramatically. Fingers crossed that's going to happen. But unlike some of the other channels out there, I don't just tell you how much I made. I'm also transparent with my ad spend and my expenses. So in terms of my ads, I spent $1,179 on my ads throughout September. So this is my snapshot across all of my marketplaces, and I generated almost 400 orders, and my ACOS again is pretty good at 27.46%. So I definitely bumped up my ad spend this month to try and generate a few more sales over in the US marketplace. And just breaking it down by the US, you can see that. So last month, I think I only spent about $350. So I've definitely spent more in the US this month. And that ACOS is a little bit higher than what I'd be comfortable with. But the hope is that increased ad spend might lead to increased organic sales as well. The UK is consistent with what it was last month at a very good ACOS. And Germany, again, I'm not spending too much out there, but it's a very profitable ACOS out there for me at under 20%. Looking at my ad results for a whole, I had 3,538 clicks. The bracket there was what last month's value was, just so I can compare. I spent $1,180, had 394 orders through my ads, which meant a click per order of 8.98. So that means for every 9 clicks, I was getting an order through my ads. Generally, that tends to be closer to 8, so maybe my ads aren't completely optimized at the moment. My average cost per click was pretty good at 33 cents, which meant that on average, it cost me $2.96 through my ads to achieve an order. So that's not going to be directly profitable for me on most of my books, so I probably need to tweak that moving forward. Onto my profit for the month. My income was $3,095. My ad spend was $1,180. My expenses was my ChatGPT and Adobe subscription, which was $106, which means my take-home profit for the month was $1,809. That's approximately £1,342. So not the best month of self-publishing on Amazon KDP. It's fallen from September last year just a little bit, but the hope is with October, November, December coming up, that my new books that I've launched, investing in a little bit more ad spend in the US marketplace and all those kind of things are going to lead to increased sales, especially in November and December. And also what I like to do is share my learnings in case they can help you in your self-publishing journey. So I do think you need to keep making high quality books. And this is because, as you saw from that previous graph, that books can fall off when there's increased competition. So yes, you can make a passive income over on Amazon KDP, but the likelihood is if you don't keep making high quality books, that your earnings are just gradually going to dip like this. So as long as you keep making new high quality books, your earnings have every potential to rise in the future. Seasonal books can be expensive to launch and might not provide a good return on investment. So I've launched a few Halloween books over the past month, and as what can happen with new books, the ads can be quite expensive, and my ACOS on those isn't particularly good. They might be around 50% instead of around 25%. but the aim with launching a book using ads is to start ranking for keywords organically. But the issue with these seasonal books, let's say I spend $200 on some ads, by the time that they're ranking, that season's going to be finished. And then the hope is that maybe by next year I get some organic sales, but then I'm going to be competing with new books as well. So maybe seasonal books like Halloween aren't the best idea to focus on at the moment. In the USA, the colouring book cost per click can be quite high. And I'm guessing this is likely due to increased competition and all the bold and easy colouring books flooding the marketplace. But I've noticed that some cost per clicks can be around $1. And unless you're converting incredibly well, we're talking one order in every 3 clicks, you're going to be spending a ton of money over on ads for not much return on investment. So colouring books at the moment do seem to be quite a competitive area over on Amazon. However, sponsored brand video ads are great to try. So when you're on your Amazon ads dashboard and you're setting up a new ad, you either have sponsored products or sponsored brands. And pretty much everything that I do is sponsored products. But sponsored brands have these new AI video ads where they can create an AI video for one of your books. If you're interested in finding out more, click the video in the corner now where I discuss sponsored brands. And just like I suggested last month, make sure to publish your Q4 books now because they're the ones that are going to generate a ton of sales over the next few months. Setting my goals for October, fingers crossed I hit them this time. I've reduced my ask a little bit and I want to publish 3 high quality books. I want to get to 1,400 book sales and that $2,400 in monthly profit. Fingers crossed my orders and income rises a little bit for October. But if you want some more Amazon KDP content, you can hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my new videos. You can sign up to my monthly newsletter where I send through Amazon tips and tricks. And also, if you want some one-on-one help, you can book a consultation with me through my website, which is at publishwithme.com/consultation. That's it for another month of self-publishing over on Amazon KDP. I hope that these videos are useful to you. And if you've got any comments or questions, drop them down in the comments below. Thanks for checking out the video and I'll see you in the next one.